Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads where every path glimmers with promise, yet your feet refuse to move. A voice, neither yours nor a stranger's, hisses, "What if you're wrong?" Your hands tremble, your breath sharpens. The world narrows to a pinprick. Around you, shadows stretch into familiar shapes. Faces of those you've disappointed, chances you've wasted, futures you've killed with a single no. Why does your mind betray you this way? Why does certainty crumble like ash when you need it most? This is not hesitation. This is self-doubt, the silent thief of souls. You felt it, the cold drip of doubt pooling in your ribs. It starts as a flicker. Maybe I'm not ready. Then a wildfire. Maybe I'm not enough. You ration logic like water. I have succeeded before. I am capable. I am worthy. But the voice laughs. It needs no evidence. It feeds on the unproven, the invisible, the what if. It is not a critic. It is a saboteur. Why do we trust it? Why do we let it carve its initials into our bones? You clutch your achievements like armor, but doubt slips through the cracks. A scentless gas, a stain no one else sees. You are both prisoner and warden. What secret pact have you made with your own undoing? Think back. When did you first kneel to doubt? Was it when you raised your hand in class, only to let it fall? When you swallowed a confession, a dream, a scream? Doubt is not born. It is taught. A well-meaning lie. Don't risk it. A societal mantra. Stay small, stay safe. You learn to measure your worth in the currency of others' approval, to mistake fear for wisdom. Now, the child who once reached for stars digs graves for their own potential. But here's the heresy. What if doubt isn't a flaw? What if it's a symptom? A fever signaling a deeper infection? You've diagnosed yourself as weak, but what if you're simply human? Self-doubt is a mirror maze. You wander, searching for a true reflection, but find only caricatures. The fool, the fraud, the failure. You plead with the glass. Show me what I am. It answers with echoes. Nietzsche warned, when you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. But what if the abyss is your own psyche? You cling to memories of triumph, but they melt like wax. You dissect your past, hunting for proof of worth. But doubt is a surgeon with dirty hands. Every incision festers. The maze tightens. The air thins. And yet, have you considered that the maze wants you lost? That every twist, every trap, is designed to keep you from the exit? What lies beyond the glass? Here is the unbearable truth. Doubt cannot be answered. It can only be dissolved. You've begged the universe for a sign, a formula, a guarantee. But certainty is a myth sold by zealots and tyrants. The ancients knew this. The oracle at Delphi whispered, "Know thyself," not "control thy fate." Yet you hammer at the void, demanding, "Am I good? Am I right? Am I loved?" The void hammers back, "Who are you to need permission?" This is the trap. This is the game. Every minute spent interrogating your worth is a minute stolen from the raw, messy act of living. But what if you stopped seeking answers? What if you dared to step into the dark? The greatest minds in history, Sartre, Jung, Frankl, wrestled this beast. They wrote of abysses and shadows, of the courage to choose oneself. But you are not them. You are you, flawed, trembling, alive. The cliff's edge yawns. The moths of your doubt swarm, whispering, "Fall." Yet beneath the fear, there's a hum, a frequency older than thought. It does not reassure, it does not promise, it simply is. You feel it in your marrow, the primal urge to leap, even if wings are not certain. This is the pivot. This is where the maze ends, and the monster becomes a mirror. The secret is closer than you think. But to grasp it, you must first, Carl Jung called it, the shadow. The part of yourself you bury alive. It is the repository of everything you deny. Shame, rage, desire. But it does not die. It festers. It learns to speak in the voice of doubt. You are unlovable, it hisses. You will fail. Why? Because the shadow knows your truth. You are not the saint, the hero, the flawless persona you perform. Modernity tells you to love yourself. But how can you love what you've exiled? Nietzsche warned, beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. But what if the monster is simply the parts of you that society branded wrong? What if doubt is not your enemy, but your disowned self clawing at the door? You believe your doubts are yours. They are not. From birth, you were handed scripts. Be humble. Be grateful. Stay in your lane. Religion called it piety. Philosophy called it ethics. Capitalism rebranded it as imposter syndrome, a flaw to optimize. But Aldous Huxley saw the truth. Hell isn't merely paved with good intentions. It's wallpapered with them. Your doubt is a relic of social conditioning, a psychic leash to keep you from becoming too much, too powerful, too free. Even your rebellion is policed. Who do you think you are? Schopenhauer argued that most humans would rather choose the safety of chains than the terror of freedom. But what if the chains are made of your own breath, your own silence? Cut the strings, and you might disintegrate. But stay bound, and you'll forget you ever had a body. Philosophers have warred over doubt for millennia. Nietzsche saw it as the price of the will to power, the agony of becoming godlike in a godless world. Sartre called it the dizziness of freedom. You are condemned to choose, yet terrified to act. Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, argued that doubt dissolves only when we anchor to meaning. Why we suffer, why we fight. But here's the trap. We search for meaning outside ourselves. In praise, in purpose, in love. Yet the tighter we cling, the more doubt tightens its noose. Why? Because meaning is not a stone to grasp, it's a fire to walk through. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." But what waits inside is not clarity. It's the storm, the paradox, the realization that certainty is death, and doubt, however cruel, is proof you're alive. Schopenhauer's curse was seeing the truth. All life is suffering. Desire is a pendulum between lack and boredom. You hunger for success, love, triumph, but achieving them only leaves you starving for more. Doubt, then, is the immune response to this futility. Why try? Why want? Yet society shames this wisdom as pessimism. You're told to stay positive, to manifest, to grind harder. But what if doubt is the sanest part of you screaming, "Stop eating ashes"? Sartre called this bad faith. The lie of playing a role while ignoring the abyss. But the abyss is not empty. It's full of forgotten selves, howling to be seen. To doubt your path isn't weakness. It's the first spit of venom from a soul poisoned by inauthenticity. The antidote? A question no philosopher dares ask. What would you do if you weren't afraid of yourself? Language built your prison. Should, must, ought. These words are not neutral. They're spells cast by dead generations. When you say, "I should be happier," you invoke ghosts. When you whisper, "I must be perfect," you kneel to a throne of bones. Wittgenstein warned, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." But your doubt thrives in this linguistic wasteland. It weaponizes the unspoken. What will they say? Huxley's Brave New World imagined a society pacified by pleasure and slogans. You've been pacified by self-help mantras and hashtags. Self-care, hustle, blessed. But what if liberation begins by burning the dictionary, by howling the forbidden words, "I don't know, I don't care, I am not yours"? The wolf at the cage door isn't doubt. It's your voice before language colonized it. Time is doubt's accomplice. The past whispers, "You failed before." The future taunts, "You'll fail again." Heidegger called this the temporality of anxiety, the horror of being stretched between what was and what may never be. But the present? The present is a blade's edge. Cut yourself on it, and you bleed pure now. Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose." Yet doubt collapses that space. It convinces you there's no time to choose, only to fear. But here's the secret. The hourglass is a liar. The fetus and the skeleton are the same. You are always dying. You are always being born. To doubt your path is to stand at the axis of time itself. Terrified, yes, but finally, awake. The existentialists were right. Hell is not other people. Hell is living as if you have forever. You made a pact you don't remember signing. In exchange for belonging, you agreed to doubt yourself. In exchange for love, you agreed to amputate your truths. Nietzsche called this slave morality, the triumph of the herd over the individual. But it's deeper than morality. It's biology. Evolution wired you to fear exile. To doubt yourself is safer than risking expulsion. Yet civilization has warped this instinct. Now, you exile yourself. You lock your dreams in basements. You apologize for existing. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But what's more terrifying? To live as a half-person, signing treaties with tyrants in your mind? The scroll is blank because the pact is a fiction. The fingerprint is yours, but the blood is old. It can be washed away. Doubt is not passive. It manufactures. Every time you ask, "Am I fooling them?" you forge a mask. Every "what if they find out?" tightens the screws. Cognitive scientists call this predictive coding. Your brain edits reality to fit your fears. You see disdain in neutral glances, incompetence in minor mistakes, conspiracy in coincidence. The masks multiply. You wear them so long your skin grows into the cracks. But here's the horror. The factory runs on your labor. You feed it with midnight calculations, with rehearsed apologies, with the silent scream of, "I'll prove myself tomorrow." Meanwhile, the world becomes a funhouse mirror. Strangers morph into judges, loved ones into threats, and the masks, they were never for them. They're for you. To hide the face you've forgotten you have. Indecision is doubt's masterpiece. Neuroscientists trace it to the amygdala's war with the prefrontal cortex, fear versus reason. But you feel it as a vice, a job offer, a confession, a leap into the unknown. Each choice splits into infinite futures, and you, the reluctant God, must annihilate all but one. The eyes on the vines blink. Regret is coming. So you stall. You research, you meditate, you seek advice from ghosts. Kierkegaard called this the dizziness of freedom. But what if the dizziness is the point? What if doubt needs you paralyzed? A stagnant pond grows algae. A stagnant mind grows rituals, checklists, astrology, prayer, tools to offload the burden of choice. But the vines thicken, the holograms multiply, and the secret no one mentions? The paralysis isn't protecting you. It's erasing you. Self-doubt is a curator of absences. It archives every road not taken, every word unsaid, every self you abandoned to be palatable. Psychologists call this counterfactual thinking, the haunting of what if. But these ghosts are not hypothetical. They're the echoes of neural pathways pruned by fear. You visit this museum nightly, tracing the grooves of your atrophy. Could I have been her? The artist? The wanderer? The one who didn't apologize for existing? The tour guide, your reflection, lies. It's not too late. But the statues decay, the tongues rot. Cultural theorists warn that capitalism commodifies desire, but doubt goes further. It exterminates desire. You learn to crave only what won't threaten your fragile persona. The tragedy? Even if you fled this museum, even if you carved a new self from the void, doubt would follow. Because its true target isn't your potential, it's your hunger. Doubt metastasizes in community. You confess your fears to a friend. They soothe you with theirs. You're not alone. You sigh, mistaking solidarity for salvation. But shared doubt is a fractal trap. Social media algorithms feed on insecurity. 10 signs you're self-sabotaging. Turning introspection into a spectator sport. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this the burnout society, where self-exploitation is framed as self-care. You bond over mutual inadequacy, building walls of me too, to keep out the terrifying question. What if we're all wrong? The child, your primal self, knows the truth. Walls protect nothing. They only mute the world's hum. But the crowd keeps shouting, mistaking noise for nourishment. The blocks grow heavier, the chamber narrows. And the most dangerous lie? That doubt makes you humble. It doesn't. It makes you complicit. Your past is not fixed. Every time you revisit a failure, you reforge it. Neuroscientists call this reconsolidation. The brain edits memories to fit current beliefs, so you hammer the chain. I've always been weak. I've always been rejected. The crown of thorns digs deeper. But what if you're misreading the data? Studies show that self-doubters recall criticism vividly, but forget praise. It slips like water through a sieve. The blacksmith is your inner critic, weaponizing hindsight to prove your unworthiness. Yet even this is a confession. You'd rather be the villain of your story than a mere bystander. Because villains have agency. They have purpose. The truth? You weren't powerless then, and you aren't now. But the forge's heat feels like home. The crown, though it bleeds, feels like a throne. Yori, if is doubt's favorite word. If I were smarter, if I were braver, if I were loved. It conjures a parallel universe where you're finally enough. But the desert of if is a recursive hell. For every grain of if you bury, 10 more take its place. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion. The pain of lacking outweighs the joy of gaining. So you dig, though your hands blister, though the salt burns, the mirage taunts. What's wrong with you? Others find oases. But the desert is a democracy. Everyone here chose to stay. Everyone fears the forest more than the drought, because the hourglass trees whisper a truth you're not ready to hear. Time is not running out. You're feeding it to the sand. The greatest consequence of doubt is not suffering, it's surrender. Not the dramatic kind, with white flags and tearful goodbyes. The slow, silent death, dreams downgraded to hobbies, love diluted to convenience, rage redirected into productivity. You become the captain of a ghost ship, navigating by dead stars. Psychologists term this learned helplessness, but it's deeper. It's learned nihilism. The chest of invisible letters holds every time you thought, "Why bother?" and meant it. The black lighthouse? That's your new compass. It guides you to the harbor of enough. Enough money, enough comfort, enough self-awareness to numb the ache. But the sea of shadow is patient. It knows you'll wake one day, clutching the railing, screaming, "What have I done?" By then, the shore will be a rumor, the sails, dust. Rebellion begins with a spark, not of certainty, but of defiance. You don't need to know the way out to know you're trapped. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose." But doubt collapses that space. It convinces you there's no choice, only obedience. The match is your refusal. The key is your rage. Not the destructive kind, but the primal, life-affirming kind that says, "I will not be erased." The chains are heavy, but they're not unbreakable. The pool whispers a secret. The key is not outside you. It's in the act of striking the match. It's in the light that proves the dark is not infinite. Doubt tells you failure is the end. It's a lie. Failure is the raw material of reinvention. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb. He invented 1,000 ways not to make one. Every shattered beaker in your life holds a lesson, but only if you're brave enough to sift through the shards. The glowing vial is your proof. Even your worst mistakes contain gold. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the ability to transform pain into power. But growth isn't passive, it's alchemy. You must kneel in the wreckage, bloody your hands, and ask, "What did this teach me?" The equations on the walls are your old formulas for success. Cross them out, rewrite them. Doubt thrives on perfection, but rebellion thrives on iteration. The only true failure is refusing to try again. To break free, you must unbecome. Shed the selves you built to please others. The good child, the perfect employee, the palatable friend. This is not a gentle process. It's a ritual of fire. Jung called it individuation, the journey to wholeness by integrating your shadow. But the shadow resists. So do the masks. They cling like second skins, whispering, "Who will love you if you change?" The fire answers, "You will." The circle is sacred. It burns away the false, leaving only the essential. The shadowy figures outside, they're not your judges. They're your mirrors, reflecting the selves you've outgrown. Let them recoil. Let them burn. The only approval you need is your own. Doubt demands a map. Rebellion thrives in the blank spaces. The compass spins because true north is a myth, a construct of fear masquerading as guidance. Nietzsche wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." The blank map is your chaos. The quill is your courage. Each stroke is a declaration. I don't know, and that's okay. The storm outside is doubt's last stand, howling, "You'll get lost." But what if getting lost is the point? What if the unknown is not a void, but a womb? The constellation of question marks is your new guide. It doesn't promise safety, but it offers something better: possibility. The map is not for navigating, it's for creating. To rebel is to say no. No to expectations, no to fear, no to the scripts you never chose. But no is not a rejection, it's a reclamation. The orchestra is your voice, long silenced, now roaring to life. The dissonance is your truth, raw and unpolished. The audience, your inner critics, your external judges, dissolves because they cannot survive in the presence of authenticity. Sartre wrote, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you." The symphony is your freedom. It's not harmonious, but it's yours. The broken chains are your instruments. The blank sheets are your manifesto. Play loud. Play wild. Let the smoke clear. Rebellion is not destruction. It's cultivation. The garden is your psyche, long neglected, now teeming with wildness. The seeds are your buried desires, your forbidden emotions, your untamed instincts. The soil is fertile because it's fed by decay, the rot of old selves, the compost of broken dreams. The wolf is your primal self, waiting for you to remember its name. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But becoming is not a straight path. It's a garden. It's messy, overgrown, and alive. The thorns will cut you. The vines will tangle you. But the roses, they'll bloom in colors you've never seen. The wolf will howl, and you'll howl back. The first step is the hardest, not because it's dangerous, but because it's irreversible. Once you leap, you can't unsee the void. You can't unfeel the wind, but the path appears only as you walk it. The stepping stones are your choices, your risks, your acts of faith. The storm is doubt's final tantrum, screaming, "You'll fall," but the shadow wings whisper, "You'll fly." Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within," but the journey begins with a step, just one. The cliff is not your enemy, it's your launching pad. The void is not your end, it's your beginning. The ultimate truth is this: you are not one self, you are a mosaic. Each shard of the mirror is a version of you, past, present, and possible. The cracks are not flaws, they're the seams of your becoming. Jung called this the collective unconscious, the idea that within you lies every self you've ever been and every self you could be. Doubt thrives on the illusion of singularity. Am I enough? But the mirror whispers, you are more than enough. You are infinite. The threads connecting the shards are your choices, your risks, your acts of defiance. They are the proof that you are not static. You are a verb, not a noun, a process, not a product. The mirror doesn't reflect who you are. It reflects who you choose to be. Doubt is born from the illusion of control. You cling to the lantern, your plans, your goals, your certainties, as if it can light the entire abyss. But the abyss is not darkness. It's possibility. The broken clock is your reminder. Time is not your enemy. It's your canvas. Viktor Frankl wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The tightrope is life. The frayed edges are uncertainty, but the figure's calm is your revelation. You don't need to control the rope. You only need to take the next step. The galaxies below are not a threat. They're a promise. Every star is a chance. Every planet, a new world. The abyss is not beneath you. It's within you, and it's beautiful. Power is not the absence of doubt. It's the willingness to bleed for your truth. The swords are your battles, internal and external. The blood is your proof. You are alive. You are fighting. Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But strength is not the absence of a weakness. It's the integration of it. The storm and sunrise are not opposites. They're partners. One clears the air, the other warms the soil. The crown is your shadow, not because you rule, but because you endure. The paradox of power is this: you are strongest when you admit your fragility. You are bravest when you embrace your fear. The sword you pull free is not a weapon. It's a tool, a key, a mirror. It's whatever you need it to be. Suffering is not meaningless. It's raw material. The crucible is your soul. The flame is your will. The debris is your pain, your failures, your regrets, your losses. But the gold is your truth. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." But consciousness is not the end. It's the beginning. The alchemy of suffering is not about erasing pain. It's about transforming it. The broken glass becomes clarity. The shattered chains become freedom. The wilted flowers become new growth. The radiant light is your essence, not because you've transcended suffering, but because you've integrated it. The crucible doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present, to pour in your shards, to trust the flame. Nietzsche's concept of the eternal return asks, what if you had to live your life over and over exactly as it is? Would you despair or rejoice? The staircase is your life. The steps are your moments. The reflection is your higher self, the part of you that sees the pattern. The descent is not a fall. It's a return, a reckoning, a reunion. The joy and pain are not opposites. They're partners. Each step is a choice. Each moment, a lesson. The infinite spiral is not a prison. It's a dance. The reflection meets you in the middle because the middle is where you are. Not at the beginning, not at the end. In the now. The eternal return is not a curse. It's a gift. A chance to say, this is my life, and I choose it. The final revelation is this: you are the cathedral. The stained glass is your story, your joys, your sorrows, your triumphs, your failures. The sky is your potential. The falling stars are your choices. The golden dust is your essence. Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." The cathedral is not a prison, it's a sanctuary. The ceiling opens because you've outgrown it. The stars fall because you've called them. The golden cloak is your birthright, not because you've earned it, but because you've claimed it. The cathedral is not your end, it's your beginning. The ultimate truth is not a destination, it's a moment. The beach is your life. The hourglasses are your doubts, your fears, your regrets. The tide is time. The glowing surface is the now. The words you write are your truth, not because they last, but because they matter. The smile is your freedom. Heidegger called this being toward death, the idea that awareness of mortality makes life meaningful. But meaning is not in the future, it's in the now. The tide will come, the words will fade, but the act of writing is eternal. The now is not a moment. It's a state of being, a choice, a rebellion, a revelation. The beach is infinite. The tide is endless. And you are the writer. the reader, the story.